Hi everyone, welcome to my channel where I just want to talk about books, and today is my first ever reading vlog, and you can completely tell it is very cringy, but you gotta start somewhere and we can only go up from here, right? Here's hoping, because it's very cringy. So here's hoping it goes up. I mean, it already has over the course of this video alone, as you can see. Well, not right now, but by the end of the video, as you'll see, I was in the process of still like moving in and settling in when I started this vlog, and I didn't have like anywhere set up or anywhere that worked as even like a decent background. So it's like an ongoing joke throughout this video. I am filming in like the most random places, and so I'm filming this intro at the end, and there's finally like a half decent setup here. So progress. But yeah, so in this vlog, my first ever reading vlog, I am reading part of Holly Jackson's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I read book 1 a while ago, and so I'm finally picking it back up and finished reading book 2. Book 3, turns out there's a prequel novella I didn't know about that I discovered halfway through this reading vlog, so I read that as well. And then things get like a little bit out of control, where I end up just like, I'm having such a great time vlogging about what I'm reading that I end up just talking about like every book ever. And so I read multiple books in addition to the Holly Jackson series that I came here for, so much so that I ended up not doing a end of the month reading wrap up, just because literally every book that I read in May ends up in this video. So hey, if you want like an extended reading wrap up, here are all of the thoughts on the books that I read in May. So thank you for bearing with me. I know this one's gonna be like a little bit rough, but you know, beginner's luck. Gotta start somewhere. It's gonna go up from here. So yes, without further ado, let's jump back to me talking about very ambitiously when I thought this was still gonna be just about the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. Here are my thoughts on the first book for this video. Alright, I am just about to start book 1 in this video, book 2 in the series, Good Girl, Bad Blood, I believe it's called. So yeah, I keep thinking about like, I've spent the last couple of hours trying to remember what happened in book 1, because it was a while ago, I think a couple of years ago that I read it, and I don't super remember anything about it, and so part of me was like, I should probably figure that out before I just dive into book 2. But on the other hand, I think sequels usually let me down a little bit. I'm usually pretty disappointed in the second book in the series, and I'm expecting that to be the case in this one as well. So I figured, you know what? Going in blind might not be the worst thing, because then I won't have as high expectations. So I might not be as disappointed as much. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe this book will blow me out of the water like the first one did, but we'll see. I'm going to go in pretty blind. I don't really remember. I definitely don't know the synopsis for book 2. And I don't really remember what happened in book 1, so we'll see. We'll find out together, but I'm about to start reading, and I will let you know my thoughts as it goes. Alright, I'm aware the lighting is terrible, but it is coming up on 1:30 in the morning, and I might have forgotten that I was supposed to circle back and update about my reading, so welcome to terrible 1 in the morning lighting. So I am currently about 30% into the book, into Good Girl, Bad Blood, and it's funny because during the first like 2 minutes of the audiobook, I'm like, oh yeah, it's totally coming back to me. Like, I absolutely remember what happened in the last book. And then a couple of chapters later, they very cleverly put in a synopsis of like, this is what happened in book 1 in the form of a podcast review. Cat just ran by, goodbye. So that was cool, like the great way to sneak it in, but it was also really funny. You can see my hand shadow. Hi, I talk a lot with my hands. But it was a clever way to fit that in, but it was also really funny because I was like, oh, I totally remember, it's totally coming back to me. And then as soon as we were doing the synopsis, I'm like, I don't remember literally like most of this. So blown away. This book definitely deals with some heavy topics, which is especially surprising for a young adult book. I feel like they kind of pull their punches, but this one, dang, I've read like adult thrillers that didn't go this hard, but it's being handled really well, which is surprising. But overall, I am definitely enjoying the book. My arm's getting tired. I am not used to this vlogging thing. Also, I am figured lovely background. Welcome to my shower curtain. Because, yep, still in the process of moving. I say still, it's been like 6 hours since I last updated you. But yeah, we're working on it. We'll get a nice backdrop for you eventually. Bear with me. Thanks for your patience and understanding in the meantime. But circling back to the book, what was I going to say? Yes, one of the things that is pleasantly surprising me is I had forgotten a big part of why I love the first book so much, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I was really blown away by the audiobook form. that's how I read it, and it was so impressive, not only having like such a full cast for the audiobook, but also what I'm calling like mixed medium. I don't know if that's the right term for an audiobook, because they sneak in not only like, oh, the characters are on the phone, but they slip in like phone effects. It actually sounds like a recording or like a phone call. And so there's like a scene in this one where she's like pressing play and the character is listening to something that she recorded, and it sounds like you're playing a recording on your laptop. So it's super cool, very impressive sound design. And so yeah, that immediately like, whoosh, like cool. I had forgotten about that, and so that definitely, I'm enjoying the book a lot more than I thought I would, just for that alone. Also, seems like a solid story. I was a little concerned about like, oh, you know, the first book works really well as a standalone, like how are they going to integrate something else into this world, but it seems like they're doing a really good job. So my arm's getting tired, so I'm going to leave you there. But yeah, so far so good. And just jumping on to elaborate a little bit more on what I was saying in the last clip, I don't know why I'm saying they, this isn't a TV show, there's not a whole production. The author did a fantastic job of finding a way to provide a new story set in this world while still tying it into the one in the first book. So we're getting our own unique story, like that first one is still wrapped up, but this new story is still like the same characters, the same town, and it's a fantastic job, in my opinion, of how the two were integrated, where it's like it feels new, it feels unique, but just like with real life, you still got similar like suspects crossing over, and some of the incidents and like the things that happened in the first book, and in that case, are impacting this one. It's a great way for checking both boxes, because on the one hand, it is the same story that readers love from the first book, but it is also like fresh, new, and a whole second story, and it's not really diminishing the first book. You know, it was wrapped up, the first case was wrapped up in a nice bow, as much as the case can be, and so we're just going with a new one, so that's really cool. And they're still like referencing the first case. I think it's done a great job of tying the two together. Yeah. Also, I distinctly remember in the first book there was at least one moment where it seemed like they were setting up for book two, where one character or a couple of characters were acting kind of suspicious, and you're like, oh, they're totally guilty of something. But it didn't come to light in the first book, so I remember reading it at the time like, oh, this is going to be relevant in the sequel. But it was so long ago that I read the first book that I can't for the life of me remember which characters they were, or what the secret was, or any of those clues uncovered, so I can't remember whether or not it's being tied into the sequel. But either way, super cool. That was kind of a bit of a disadvantage for me, having so much time passed. When I read book one, it was nearly 2 years ago, which is funny because the events between the two books are 6 to 12 weeks apart for the characters, and for me, it's nearly 2 years now. So that was the one disadvantage coming into it. There were so many characters, like an entire high school worth of characters, and I couldn't remember who anybody was other than Pip. So there was definitely a learning curve. I couldn't remember for the first several chapters, and I mean, I still don't like fully remember, but it's easier to pick up as the book goes on, so that was a little bit of a disadvantage, especially when it comes to the disappearance itself. And the reason that I say that is because when the case is first developing, our main character Pip was actually the last person to see the disappeared boy for a very long time. For like while the case was developing, she was the last person to have seen him for a while. And it was interesting because that part happened in the story and the reader was along for that, but I was so busy being overwhelmed by like, I don't know who any of these people are, as the book is talking about, like, and then this guy ran by and he saw this girl and this girl said this thing, and then you turned and there was a group of 6 people and here's all the people, but then that conversation was interrupted because here's like 4 more families, and it was so name dropping. And like, I don't remember any of these people from book 1, so there was no familiarity. I was just trying to like figure out what's happening, figure out who's who, and so I missed out a lot on that. Oh, that turned out to be the last time we saw that guy. And I was just like wasn't there, wasn't paying attention, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could reread that part, but audiobook, I'm like, I don't know where that was. I could probably find out, but I'm just gonna try to pick it up as we go along. But at the same time, that's kind of cool because I think that's really authentic to like in real life. If you were like present for a disappearance, so you know, you're like, oh, it was so mundane, like, I don't know, there were people there, I wasn't paying much attention, and now I'm trying to recall those details. So it actually makes it more immersive somehow for me. So that's kind of a cool effect. But yeah, I'm having a great time with this. Pip definitely feels like a modern day Nancy Drew, but it's no, yeah, that's not a bad thing, but it's pretty cool, pretty cool. So I'm having a lot of fun with this. So we'll see what else happens. Also, there was a scene where Ravi and Pip were working to name the podcast, and that was a really cool scene because it felt like a glimpse behind the curtain into the author's process for writing the book, at least the first one, because they were running through like, oh, what about this name? What about this name? What about that title? Oh, well, that title, it's close, but like not good enough. And they ended up calling the podcast A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is the name of the first book in the series. So that was a cool like glimpse behind the curtain, it felt like. And I'm pretty sure that the theme music that they used in the podcast in their world is the same theme music used for the actual audiobook, so that's a cool little overlap. Remember how last night I was like, I'm pretty sure there was something from book 1 that was foreshadowing something that's going to happen in book 2, but I can't remember what it was. That just became relevant, and I am a little bit shooketh from that reveal and that twist. Dang, that was a good reveal, a good twist. I'm 86% of the way through this book. We're closing in on the end, and after that, I'm like, I gotta take a minute, gotta let that soak in, gotta let that settle. I'm gonna go make lunch and just... I haven't been updating much because I'm like, I don't know, I'm just enjoying the story, and I'm still trying to find that balance on like, what do I share, what do I not share, because I didn't want to do spoilers for this vlog. But that reveal, I'm just like, oh. So, I'm gonna go take a minute, but wow. Yeah, it became relevant, that thing from book 1 that I was like, I think that'll come back. It did. Wow. I wonder if I would have made that connection had I read the books back to back. And if I'd been able to remember that specific detail, I wonder if I would have put it together sooner, but just, wow. Wow. Alright, this is twice now in this video where my shower curtain has been the backdrop. You are currently hanging out inside my medicine cabinet. I figured I would chat while I throw some eyes on. Yeah, it just came to my attention that I have to wait to read book 2 in the series. I am low-key devastated by that. I forgot that I don't own the audiobook for the 3rd book in the trilogy. I own the 2nd one, which I've been listening to through Libro. We love Libro, not sponsored, just wonderful, highly recommend. They're like the indie equivalent to Audible, if you're not familiar. But I own the 2nd book, and I just assumed, like, I was planning to just go right into book 3. I'm wrapping up. Like I said, I haven't read any more since I last updated you. I am 86% of the way through this book, and I was like, oh, I will roll into the other one by the end of tonight. I have to wait. I have to wait for it to come in because I'm on hold for it through my library app. The good news is that it should be any day now. Oh, I'm like, what is that sound? We have a ice cream truck that rolls through the apartment complex almost every day, and I hear the music in the distance. So stay tuned. Let me know if you can hear ice cream music in the background. But yeah, so the good news is that the hold should be available any day now, but still, I still have to wait. Oh, it's getting loud. There it goes. What a time. But anyways, so I am just wrapping up the 2nd book in the series, 1st book in this video, and yeah, it's going really well. I think this would be a great autumnal read. I recommend it for the fall if you haven't read it yet and are looking to. I think it'd be a really good fall vibes because it's just like the descriptions of the trees and the leaves and back to school, and then also just like the vibe is kind of spooky. It's very, you know, it hits like a fall book. So I definitely recommend it for that if you are looking for a time to read this book. Besides that, what are some other observations? I'm like, I've read so much. What are my thoughts on it? I'm just kind of along for the ride, not really thinking too much about it. But I will say this book does emotion phenomenally well. This book handles like raw human feelings, pain, the ugly, the good, the bad, the mental breakdowns. Like, it got pretty intense for a minute there. Like, the book in general deals with some very heavy subjects, which I think I mentioned earlier in this video is surprising for a young adult book. It does not pull its punches. It's going hard, and it does it really well. It's just a little surprising for me. Maybe that's because I'm not super familiar with the young adult mystery genre. I usually read thrillers, so I was not expecting it to go this hard, but it's being handled really well. But it's just interesting. Most recently, I'm at that part in the story where Pip, our main character, if you don't know, her, like, the weight of the investigation and everything kind of coming down to her is just really weighing on her and like
breaking her just a little tiny bit, but it's written super well. So lots of respect for the author for how she was able to like accurately capture these ugly emotions, but she's doing a great job. But yeah, we're coming up on the end of the story. In my last clip, I mentioned that like a really big twist just happened, so we're getting there. We're definitely in the final stretch. So kind of similar to when I first started this book, I'm very curious how the third one will build off of this additionally. You know, I wonder if it's going to be a third story, or if we're going to like, we better not end on a cliffhanger here and go into like, well, we'll actually find where this guy is in the third book. So we'll see. I'm very curious to see, what the story is going to be for the third one. I liked going in blind because I think when I have a lot of expectations, whether it's for what other people have said about the book or the synopsis, I might interpret it one way. That usually leads to disappointment, and I've been finding lately that I'm enjoying books a lot better when I go in blind. So I think when the third book finally delivers from Libby, my library app, I think I'll just go into it without reading the description. But yeah, I am enjoying this second book a lot more than I thought that I would. I don't know what I'm going to rate it yet for as far as star rating goes, but I'm also not done with it, so we'll evaluate it when that time comes. But I am enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would, so that's always a good thing. Alright, I'm gonna go finish that book, and I will update y'all when I'm done. Hopefully not from my kitchen cabinet, bathroom cabinet, although I must say, somehow my bathroom is the only part of the apartment that I have fully unpacked. And so it is the only place here that has like a decent backdrop. I mean, decent, big asterisks on the end, it's my bathroom. But compared to like the blank walls of the rest of my space, not great. Also, can you tell this is my favorite color? It's the towels, it's the wall art, it's the shower curtain, it's also my shirt. So yes, we love a good mint green. All right, I'm gonna go back to reading now.
Also, how on earth does Pip have time to do everything that she is doing here? This girl, she is a full-time high school student. She is actively investigating a disappearance. On top of that, she is still recording and editing and releasing podcast episodes, both wrapping up the case from the previous book and her previous podcast season, just wrapping up with trial updates, and then also recording and releasing episodes for her current case, which is this disappearance. I'm like, Queen, how do you do all that? Like, I'm over here, I barely have time to like eat in a day. How is she doing all of this? So it's impressive. Maybe not unrealistic, 'cause I know there are people like that, but I'm like, I could never. Like, I can barely balance just I'm blanking on everything that I do in my life, but not nearly that much. So that's very impressive. I'm like, how is she doing all this? So Pip is definitely a girl boss. So look at that. Look at her go. We love to see it. Hi, honey. You sleeping? Did I disturb you? I'm sorry. But I don't know if this spot's gonna work out long term, bud. You're so cute, though. At least I'll give you that. I'm sorry. Okay, fine. I'll close the curtain. Have a good sleep, bud. Have a good sleep. Silly goose. As you've just seen, Midnight has found his new favorite sleeping spot, which is about 3.5 feet off the ground, just laying amongst my clothes. So, cute, kind of inconvenient, but very cute, I'll give him that. So I'm just keeping an eye on him, because right now he's settled in, he's pretty content just sleeping right there, but as soon as I look away, he keeps trying to jump up and climb the rest of the closet, and there's a bunch of stuff up there that he keeps knocking over and trying to knock over, which I need to stay upright, so I guess until he finishes his nap, I'm also hanging out in here. But that works out. I am putting some stuff on this new IKEA shelf that I just bought yesterday. So that was fun. So I recorded a cute little time lapse. Enjoy. I think those are really satisfying. So let's throw it back to yesterday, where I am spending longer than I should admit to putting this piece of furniture together. But it was kind of fun. So yeah. Yeah. shelf is finished. Did I realize I did a step incorrectly and as a result wasn't able to put this in? Yes. Did I elect to not care and not go back to fix it? Yes. We just won't have that piece. But shelf is complete. Now I can go back to reading. Also, I was hoping our friends here would walk by in the background of the time lapse, and they didn't. So let's see if we can catch them now. Again, for the 1000th time, don't mind the mess in the background. We're still in the process of moving. We're working on it. Ash, come back. Ash. Ash, say hi. Not having it. That's okay. That's why I have a second cat for when the first one is being unsocial, antisocial. Say hi, Bubby. He's not saying hi. Hi. This is Midnight. He also says hello. He's unimpressed. Hi. Hi, Pee-Pee. Yeah, he's smelling all the rain. Got stuck in a storm earlier. Hey, puppy. Love you more. Me too, honey. Me too. Well, I finished the book. That was so much happened. Oh my gosh. Really just from that point where I checked in, where I was just coincidentally like, oh, I'm like 86% of the way through. From like 87% until the end, it kicked off. It was so intense. I'm not going to spoil anything. I don't even know if I could if I wanted to. It's going to take me so long to try to process all of that. Wow, a lot happened. Holly Jackson really put the main character through it. That poor girl had so much trauma and shock, and I'm sure book 3 is going to be nothing but like dealing with her PTSD. The end of this book was, they really put Pip through it, poor girl. I don't even know how to process all of that. It was a lot. I'm almost glad that I can't jump into book 3 because I feel like I need a minute. Though it was a lot. It was very intense. Again, it was handled really well. But it's so funny that I thought it was like intense and going hard before. Like, oh my goodness. That was a lot. Yeah, I think I'm gonna it's a good thing that I gotta wait an indeterminate amount of time until the library delivers the next one. I'm gonna go read like some comics or something. Like I gotta get something light while I wait for the next one. I'm trying to form thoughts. I don't even know how to process all of what I just read. It was definitely intense. I don't know. Let me take a minute because I don't even know how to form thoughts on what I just read. Like, so much happened. Wow. Midnight has gone, so now I'm just standing here. So this is just where I'm choosing to record now. Cat's gone, so this is just a choice. But yeah, it's like the ending to, I'm not sure where book 3 is going to go, and that was something that I think I speculated on briefly earlier in this video. I was like, oh, I wonder what, book 3 is going to look like, because the first installment in this series was so well contained. It worked really well as a standalone. And then book 2 did a great job of integrating like that first, everything that happened, but also some new stuff. It did a really good job of not completely ignoring the first part of the story, but also giving you a lot of new stuff. And so I was like, oh, I don't know where book 3 is going to go. I really don't know where book 3 is going to go. I will say I am a lot less excited going into book 3. Normally, like, first in a series is great, second disappoints me, sequels are okay, and then the third in a trilogy normally, like, salvages it. I was pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed book 2 a lot more than I thought I would. I'm not super hyped going into book 3 because I know there's going to be a lot, in addition to just like whatever case Pip is working on, there's going to be a lot of her trying to work through some stuff, and I don't usually enjoy reading about that. So I'm not like super excited to go into book 3. I'm sure I will still read it, but like I said, probably not the worst thing that I gotta wait a couple of days for the library app to deliver it, so that works out. But I am very curious to figure out what book 3 is going to look like. It was also, this one wasn't entirely wrapped up in a neat bow. A lot of things were resolved at the end of this book, but they were just that one thread that's just enough to be like, thread, come back, like, what are you doing? So I'm sure that'll be fought after, Pip trying to track that down in book 3. I'm not sure if it's going to be like the main storyline, kind of like a B plot, just kind of in the background, something that's still ongoing.
But it'll be interesting. Like I said, this will be the least enthusiastic that I'm going into a third book. I'm kind of expecting to like that one the least. I'm sure it'll still be really well done. Also, shout out to Ravi. This character has to have, like, the best boyfriend ever award, because my goodness, the things that Pip was going through and, like, taking out on him, and he was still like, support you, you're doing great. And I was like, I don't know anyone in my life that would have stuck with me if I was acting like that. So shout out to Ravi. What else? Do I have any other thoughts? I abandoned putting things on the shelf just to, like, lay on my bed and be like, oh my gosh, and just listen to the end of this book. But yeah, that was a book that I read. Wow, it was intense. It was massive twists, it was just really big moments in the plot, really big things happening, and then, like, physically, emotionally, mystery-wise, in the case, in this, in Pip's life, it was just, whoa, it was a lot. So, wow, it did not pull its punches. Yeah, it was funny, I was saying, like, oh, this book goes kind of hard for, like, subjects and topics. Like, we were just getting warmed up. Like, wow, it was intense. It was intense, but yeah, I'm gonna go either watch YouTube or try to find something really light to read, but I'm just gonna soak on that for a while, stew on that. We will see what happens next. Either I'll wait a couple of days to finish up this vlog when book 2 in the video, book 3 in the trilogy becomes available through Libby, or maybe in the meantime I'll bring you with me. This is a reading vlog. Maybe we'll deviate a little bit from not just doing this series. Maybe we'll throw in a random book in the meantime while we're waiting, but we'll see. We'll see in the next clip. For you, that'll be seconds. For me, who knows how much time that'll be. So I'm gonna get out of the wardrobe now that the cat's gone. There's no reason for me to be in here. But yeah, let me just try to process that for a while. Whew. Oh, and I was right. It is, in fact, the same music in the podcast, within the book, and the audiobook do use the same intro music. So that's kind of cool, kind of a fun little, I don't know, crossover, acknowledgement to reality, or maybe a low budget. But either way, I thought that was fun that the intro that Pip uses in her podcast in the audiobook is the same intro-outro music as the audiobook uses. All right, a couple more hours has passed since I finished the book. I still don't know how to process any of that ending, but I'm jumping on because I was really curious, because I finished the book at 12:06 a.m. So it was 6 minutes after midnight, and I was just curious what you guys would do in that position when you're marking on Goodreads when it's technically 6 minutes after midnight. So do you mark it as that day, like the next calendar day, because it's after midnight, or do you mark it as like the day that just technically ended but you haven't gone to bed yet, so it's still that day? Which one do you do on Goodreads? I'm just curious. Let's have a conversation about it in the comments. So I'm just curious about that. But I am definitely going to read a palette cleanser while I wait for the next book to come in, and just to, like, refresh after that one. I've got my eye on Sarah Anderson. She is best known for Sarah Scribbles. Those are a couple of webcomics that were really popular, that were printed in the last couple of years into a book form, which I read and I love them. They're super fast, super easy, super breezy, and just really light and fun. And she has a new book. Well, I say new, it was like 2 years ago. I just haven't read it yet. Not Sarah Scribbles, it's Cryptid Club. I don't really know what to expect, but that seems perfect, like a good little palette cleanser. It's 150 pages, mostly comics or drawings, and yeah, it should be light and fun. So that's going to be my palette cleanser, and then we'll go from there. If I still don't have the next book, I might jump over to the Wayward Children series, but we'll see. Right now it's like 1:30, 2 in the morning, and I gotta work on fixing my sleep schedule, so I'm going to try to head to bed after I knock out a quick Goodreads review for the book I just finished. Normally I say, well, it's fresh in my mind, but it's fresh in my mind and I don't know what happened. So yeah, so I will catch y'all tomorrow / later today, depending on how you count, because it's after midnight. But yes, let me know and I'll see you soon. All right, it's the next morning. Book 3 in the trilogy still hasn't come in. Not too surprised about that, but I was just reading a couple of other things in the meantime, and I was like, no, I won't really put them in this vlog, like I'll save it for a monthly reading wrap-up. But I'm so annoyed at the book that I'm currently reading that I have to vent about it, so I guess we're throwing that in here. Before I get into that though, I did, as I mentioned last night, I did read Sarah Anderson's Cryptid Club. It was fun, it was cute, it was like a 15-minute read. It's very fast to go through because it's just basically like webcomics printed, so it's fun, it's cute. I don't super know how, so normally her Sarah Scribble series are just like
realistic, like human experiences. And this was cryptid club, so it was like the Loch Ness Monster and like Bigfoot and like the Chupacabra, and so it was interesting because it was different. It wasn't the normal human experiences that I'm used to. It wasn't necessarily bad, just different. But that was fun because I do like cryptids and stuff, so that was cute seeing her depiction of it. But yeah, so then I started reading, I don't even know what number it is, in the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire. This is Where the Drowned Girls Go. I am so unhappy with this book. It's literally, the audiobook is 4.5 hours. And I don't know if I can finish it. I keep thinking about DNFing it, and I'm like, this is a short book, dude. Like, I don't even know if I can finish it. Like, I'm so displeased with it. Like, so for context, my experience with the Wayward Children series, book 1 in the series, I loved it. It blew my mind. I was like, this is one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. Everyone needs to read it. It was amazing. And then, so the way that the Wayward Children series is set up is that it alternates. So the odd numbers, like 1, 3, 5, 7 in the series, are set in chronological order in this world, and then the even numbers, like 2, 4, 6, and so on, are prequels, where characters that you meet in the regular storyline, then you get their backstories. And you can like skip the prequels and it doesn't, like, everything else is explained in the regular ones, which is what I've been doing, which I feel like a lot of people won't like that. A lot of people are like, don't skip books in the series, but I have never really liked prequels, and so I wasn't super interested in reading those. And then especially after hearing the descriptions, I'm like, I don't really care. I am planning to read the upcoming one that was just released, well, I guess not upcoming anymore, the one that was released earlier this year, because like that one, I'm like, that's the only prequel that I'm like, that one might be interesting, so I'll probably read that one. But in general, I've read books 1, 3, 5, so this must be book 7, and I've been skipping the other ones. But the first book in the series was like amazing. I loved it so much, mind-blowing. The next one that I read, which would have been book 3, it was like, it was still good. It felt a little bit short compared to the first one, but it was still like pretty solid and pretty well done and still pretty enjoyable. But then the next one that I read, the third one that I read, the 5th one in the series, was like, ooh, boy. So it was losing me pretty quickly. But this one I thought sounded spectacular. I was like, oh, this one though, that was just kind of like a lull. Book 7 here is going to be like exceptional. Like, it's such a cool concept. We're going to be turning it around. I'm so unhappy. It's doing like too good of a job with the writing, because the setting is this horrible, toxic setting that is just like stamping the life and the individuality and all rebellion out of everyone in it. And it's so like, I am just a reader here for 4.5 hours, and I already feel like so stamped out that it's like, oh, I'm not having a good time. I was like, I might DNF this, and then a character that I love popped up, and I was like, okay, this could save it. And then that character is just being stamped out, and I'm like, so I'm back to like, kind of want to DNF this book. I'm literally listening to it on like 2.3 times speed just to like fly through it quicker, because I don't really care, and I can still understand it. It's not like I'm losing what's happening. I'm just like, I don't care. I don't make it go faster. It's like the audiobook equivalent of skimming. I can still understand what's being said, but I'm just like, it's only a 4.5 hour audiobook, and I'm listening to it on 2.3 times speed, so it should only take me like 2 hours to read, and even then I'm like, I don't know if I can get through it. Like, I keep thinking about DNFing it. At this point, I'm like halfway through, so 2 hours regular time, about an hour of the speed that I'm listening to it at, and I'm just like, even that, I don't know if I can do it. I'm just so displeased with this book, so we'll see how it ends, but I'm not happy. Like, I wasn't planning to throw in another book. I was like, I'm gonna keep this reading vlog dedicated to the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. But I'm reading this in the meantime, and I am just like, I have to vent because I hate it so much. This book, I'm not a fan. We'll see if it turns around. We'll see how it ends. But like, I had to throw that in this vlog to be like, So I'm gonna take a break from the book. I woke up and I haven't gotten out of bed yet. I've just been reading, but I'm gonna go, like, I would say get ready, but I'm not going anywhere, so I'm probably just gonna keep looking like this for the rest of the day. But I'm gonna go get some food and just like, this book, but I had to share that, so yay. All right, I'm back in here. Midnight is not. I just didn't want to hold my phone to speak into it, and at least here we have a shelf. So yeah, I finished Where the Drowned Girls Go. Yeah, that was a book.
It definitely got better. The second half was better. It still wasn't like spectacular, but at least it was all the themes that I recognized from the series, where it was, a group of students just trying to like do magical things and talking about their different worlds. So at least it felt like it was in the same series and what I was signing up for. I still wasn't super enjoying it. The end got better, but even then it was like, I was ready to throw hands. Like, this book, it drops out, like, right as it starts kicking off, right as you're like, oh, it's gonna get interesting. The book ended, and I was so mad. But at least in the epilogue, there was a little bit of resolution, so that helped. Without that, I would have been so mad, like 1 star. But, so the epilogue, easily the best part of the entire book. So that doesn't really bode well for the entire story. Not unlike the Good Girl, Bad Blood, I have no idea what I'm gonna rate this on Goodreads. I'm gonna have to think on it for a little bit, but I didn't really enjoy this book, like, at all. I actually disliked the first half pretty much. The second half was meh, it was okay, and the epilogue was by far the best part. So I don't have a lot of faith in the rest of this series, unfortunately, which is a bummer, because book 1 was like one of my favorite books I've ever read, so it doesn't bode well for the rest of the series. I am interested in reading other books by Shannon McGuire, though, to see if it's just like she's losing the series, at least in my mind. Like, other people might probably still do like it. Just for me, each book is becoming a bigger and bigger miss. So I'd be curious to read other books by her, see if it's just like this world is losing me and her writing inside of this world. But yeah, I finished that book. Yay. Still no word on the 3rd book for A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I have a feeling that's going to be a little while, so it might be a couple of days before you see me again in this reading vlog, but yeah, there are my thoughts on my spontaneous jump over to the Wayward Children's book series. Well, I'll see in a bit, but hopefully by then I will have more of a stable filming location. Unlikely, based on the rate of unpacking I've been doing, but yeah, we'll see you in the next clip.
Alright, I lied. It hasn't been a couple of days yet. We're jumping in several hours later, still the same day. Okay, I jumped over to read Remote Control by Nady Okorafor. It was super spontaneous. I saw that it was available on my library app, and it was only a 4-hour audiobook, and I went, sure, that's perfect. Let's read a bunch of short stories while we're waiting. For the record, the 3rd book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series finally came in, so I'll be starting that either tonight or tomorrow. So we don't have to wait much longer. I'll jump into that and give you my thoughts on that one pretty soon. But in the meantime, Remote Control. I had a lot of thoughts that I was going to share as I was finishing the book, and then I finished it, and that might be I don't know if it's like the best, but like the strongest final sentence in any story I've ever read. Like, dang. Backing it up, backpedaling a little bit, that book, Remote Control, I started it and I was like, this is really cool, and then I got a little bit lost for like the final, not quite half, there's probably like a 30, maybe 40% chunk in there where I was like, oh, and I started to not really enjoy it, kind of similar to what happened with Where the Drowned Girls Go. It was bumming me out. It was making me sad because we were following this character who everyone that she loves dies around her, and it's usually her fault, and she keeps being like evicted, and she's trying to find a home and she can't find a home, and I'm like, this is so sad. It wasn't like, what's the emotional equivalent of a reading slump, where I was just like emotionally like, the books that I've read today made me sad, like put me in a funk. So that wasn't fun. It's not the vibe that I read for. But it started kind of like picking up a little bit, not like action-wise, but emotionally, being like, okay, we're getting towards the end, hopefully there's going to be some sort of closure or ending on a better note. And yes and no, but that final sentence in that book has to be the strongest one out of every book I've ever read, just dang. So I was kind of like, probably like 4 stars, because my enjoyment was kind of low, but I feel like that final sentence alone is like, okay, 5 stars, well done. Well done, author, well done. So, yeah, but in general, the story was a pretty cool story. It was a lot slower. I don't know if it wasn't necessarily a slower pace. Usually I like books where it's like, lots is happening, you're reading it, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, like very action-packed. That's why I like thrillers so much, because it's very like edge of your seat the whole time. Whereas this book was kind of like, you're gliding through the events, and like, yeah, there are these big moments happening, but it's kind of concentrating more on like reflection and the character like thinking about the events as opposed to like being in the moment and the moments being intense and building up. So that wasn't quite the style of book that I super enjoy reading, but it was still like really well done and it was a good story, so I didn't really mind. It was still really strong. But yeah, that last sentence, dang, that was powerful. That was a strong last sentence, which I can't really repeat it without spoiling like the entire book, but just dang. So wow, that was strong. But yeah, so the third book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series finally came in. I can't even remember what the third one is called. But yeah, so we can get back on track with this reading vlog that was supposed to be these 2 books in the series and has ended up, while I was waiting for this book to come in, kind of took a detour. My palette's been cleansed, so I'm like kind of like reset so I can jump back into the series. But only reset in the sense of like, yes, I jumped out of the series, read a couple of other stories, and I'm jumping back into the series, but I think of a palette cleanser as being like refreshing. I'm like, why am I more bummed out than before I started? Like the 2 books that I read today both made me kind of sad, but that's fine, because I'm going to be thinking about that final sentence for a while, dang. So off to write another Goodreads review, and then I'm going to go back to Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I will finally update you back on that series. Hopefully I will have finally changed. I'm like, I've recorded so many clips last night and today, but I feel like 90% of this reading vlog I'm going to be wearing the same shirt, so hopefully for the next clip I'll finally have like gotten changed into something else. But yeah, back on track, so stay tuned for the final book in this reading vlog, and yeah, hopefully that one doesn't make me sad. Oh, it will. We're going to be dealing with Pip's PTSD. Oh boy, this has been a reading week, all right. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, it seems I lied again. Another update. This one will be quicker. I hope. This reading vlog is going to be so long. I just discovered that there is a prequel novella to the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. So there's like a half story. It's only a 3-hour audiobook and it takes place before any of the events in this. So it's gonna be weird. I can't imagine the series without Ravi. Yeah, but it's like a little prequel where Pip is just doing like a fun like dinner mystery style as opposed to like an actual case that she's solving. And I don't really like prequels, but I'm gonna give this one a shot. I just downloaded the audiobook. We'll see if I DNF it or if I get through the whole thing. It's only 3 hours, but said that about the last 2 books that I read today, and they were tough at times to get through. So we'll see how that goes, but I had no idea that existed, so I might give that a shot. And I was like, I've read so much for this reading vlog, but what am I gonna do? Not read that in the same video that I'm doing the actual books in that series, so we'll see. And then I was also looking into, Holly Jackson has a newer release called 5 Survive. It's not a sentence universe, it's its own story. And because I'm like, I love this trilogy, I love her writing, I would definitely read more from her, but I don't think the description of that book appeals to me. I don't think that my understanding is, based on the description on Goodreads, there's like 6 friends in an RV trying to go on a road trip and it breaks down, or not even breaks down, someone shoots out the tires and they're stuck in an RV while someone's shooting at them, there's a sniper, and that doesn't really appeal to me. I'm like, that one I might pass on, and by I mean that one I'm gonna pass on. So when she releases another book, I will definitely read it, or most likely pick it up, because I'm definitely interested to read more from this author, but probably gonna skip 5 Survive. I do like the title though. But yeah, I guess we're gonna jump over to this little novella. It's called Killjoy, and we'll see how that one goes. Hopefully I have better luck with this short story than the other ones I've been reading today. So yeah, we'll see. I went to the pool today, if that wasn't obvious from my post-pool hair. But that was super fun. We love getting out in the sun. It's actually feeling like summer, so that's always a good vibe. Chase off the winter. But yeah, I'm currently reading Lost in the Moment and Found by Shannon Maguire, or as the audiobook narrator calls it, Shannon Maguire. And I was like, that's not right. Midnight High. There goes Buddy.
yeah, I'm liking it a lot better than Where the Drowned Girls Go. It is the next one in the series, so this will be number 8, and even though I have skipped all the other prequels in the series, this one I'm reading, and I'm enjoying it a lot better than the last 2 books that actually are taking place in the current, I was gonna say like the now timeline, but the present timeline. I'm enjoying it a lot better. So it's an all sorts of upside down world, because normally I don't like prequels, I only like the main storyline, but I'm not liking the main storyline, and now I'm liking the prequel, and I don't know what's going on. But I'm not going to talk more about that, because at this point I'm going to mention literally every book in my monthly reading wrap-up is going to end up in this vlog at this rate. So I am here to talk about Killjoy, because that is actually in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. This is the 4th book, but it's a prequel novella to be counted. On Goodreads it's like the number 0.5. Oh, hi! Come back! But yeah. But Killjoy, first of all, beautiful cover, the edition that I was reading anyways. This book, tell me how the prequel novella is the best book in the series. It is so good. Not that the other ones were bad, they were phenomenally done and really well executed, but this one is so good. I was literally thriving so much. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Can I even form thoughts on why I loved it? Probably not. Okay, there he goes again. Midnight's just pacing at this point. Can I even form thoughts? It was just so good. I loved it. Somehow this not taking itself seriously, this little jokey prequel novella is the best book that I've read so far this year. So that's definitely going on my most surprising books that I read this year list, that's for sure. But it was so good and so beautiful. The premise, I'm just saying that sentence over and over again. Let me actually tell you why. So it was written after the first 2 books in the actual series, so I read them in order. It takes place, of course, before all 3 of them, but it was written, or at least published, after Good Girl, Bad Blood. So going into it, I was so happy seeing spending time with Jamie, because that is the character in this town where the premise for book 2, Good Girl, Bad Blood, is that Jamie disappears, and everyone spends the book being is he dead? Is he alive? Did he run off? Was he murdered? Did something bad happen? We don't know. And I won't tell you what actually happened and which one it was, but either way, the whole premise of the book is Jamie's gone. So it was so nice spending time with Jamie, where he's just there, unaware, just my poor baby. So that was really fun. But it was so great, because it was so lighthearted. It's I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't the normal oh no, a murder and or disappearance that could have been a murder. It was it was this murder mystery. So one of Pip's friends was staging a dinner party, and they're all in character as these fictional people. There's a murder mystery, but it's all simulated. It's like a dinner theater at one of Pip's friends' houses with just her friend group, and it was so much fun. And the author did such a good job of finding that balance between oh, it's only a dinner show, it's not a real murder, but still they were so invested, but it was such a good balance. Chef's kiss. I can't even describe it. What are you doing? Hi, honey. Hi. You weirdo. You just hanging out. That's so cute. Sir, I'm recording a video. Be decent. Hi. Midnight says hi. But it was phenomenal. I loved it so much. The narrator also did a phenomenal job of finding that balance between goodbye, miss you. Did a phenomenal balance between taking it seriously, but not too seriously, but sometimes seriously, because Pip gets really obsessed with cases, and it was just so well executed, and I loved it literally so much. Also, there were so many nods. There were so many nods to the 2 books that were already written and published from the series. There is a scene, if you know, you know. Cries with the yellow knife. I was how dare they? How dare they? But also, this is genius. Holly Jackson, that was the greatest subtle background joke that I have read in a book in a long time, and I was how dare you? But also, I love that you did that. I love it so much, but how dare you? The yellow knife being used in Killjoy. But anyways, but also just little things from book 1.
one of the people that is revealed to be a bad person. This takes place before book 1, so that hasn't been revealed yet. So this person isn't in jail and is just like cruising around, doing their thing in town, and everyone's just like, yeah, that's so-and-so's so-and-so. Like, yeah, not knowing they're bad. And I was like, put this person in jail. I know what they've done. And so, so Killjoy was phenomenal for so many reasons. Prequel novella, 100% love. Oh my gosh, I also just realized, yeah, and then plus with the Sean McGuire book, the Wayward Children's book that I'm reading right now, not me liking 2 prequels. Not me reading 2 prequels back to back. That never happens, but liking them? Who am I? But yeah, so that's that. So Killjoy, phenomenal. Chef's Kiss, somehow the best book that I have read so far this year. Midnight's coming again. But yeah, so bet. Sorry. But yeah, all right. Well, sooner or later, probably tomorrow morning, I'm going to start the 3rd and final book in the trilogy, which I, for some reason... Oh, As Good as Dead. I had to look it up because I was like, I can't remember the name of this book. As Good as Dead. I will start that probably in the morning, and I'll let you know the thoughts. Thank you for sticking with me on this super long reading vlog. I was going to say, like, oh, I promise they won't all be this long. I'm going to aim for them to be shorter. I think it's just because so many other books ended up being included. I thought about making them into, like, editing that into, like, a second video, but I'm like, But yes, so I don't know where Midnight went. I'm gonna go track him down. I feel like he's eating my plant babies, and I don't trust that. So, signing off for the night. We'll see how the next book goes. Say hi, Ash. Hi, buddy. Hi. Wow, we are all sorts of backlit here. Yeah, so it's been a couple of days. I started and finished the 3rd book in the trilogy. That was a book. Yep. I didn't do any updates on it because it took like 4 or 5 hours for me to figure out what the premise of the book was going to be. It took a really long time getting started. It wasn't clear what plot we were going to be following, what direction we were going to be going, what case we were going to be solving. It really wasn't going anywhere for a little bit. Like, it took a long time to get started. So normally I'm like, oh, I just started it. It's going really well. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what's happening. I don't know where we're going. So I didn't do an update. And then while all the other previous books in the series have been very strongly like, oh, I don't want to put it down. Like, this is such a good book. I'm enjoying it. No, this one I kept being like, I'm going to need a minute. I'm just going to like walk away. Take a breather. Wasn't holding my attention. I didn't like it that much. Not only was this my least favorite book in the series, but this is one of those least favorite books in the series where like it really taints the overall like impression of this entire world that this book is set in. Like, I used to love the earlier ones in the series. Now I'm like, I know where they're going though. Also, super unhappy with the ending. Not a good time. I'm gonna go take a shower, then we'll get into it. What's that, you say? How did an already really low quality video get even lower quality? I'm out of storage space on my phone. And normally when I'm out of storage space on my phone, I import those videos from the content I've been filming onto my laptop, and then I start again on my phone. I've run out of space on my laptop. I have like just enough that I can film directly onto my laptop, but I can't import the videos from my phone that are currently on there taking up space and then record this video on my phone and then import this one. I wouldn't be able to finish the vlog. So I'm just jumping over onto my laptop. It's the camera app that comes on my laptop. It's not good quality. So thanks for your patience. A summary, really, of this entire reading vlog. And because I'm on my laptop, on not my phone right now, I'm like balancing my laptop in my hand, like serving tray style. So if we're a little shaky, that's why. I don't have upper body strength. Can't do this. But anyways, just jumping in here to finish this reading vlog once and for all. I'm editing it to try to get it up, and I realized I never came back and finished. I never gave y'all my final thoughts. I said I started to talk about the end of the trilogy, and then I was like, please hold. Also, sorry, not sorry for all the traffic going on behind me. I am in a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot because you can take the New Englander out of New England. You can't take New England out of the New Englander. Is that how it goes? Love our donkeys. Love our donkeys. But anyways. I know I started giving y'all my thoughts on the end of the trilogy, and then I was like, hold on, I'm gonna go take a shower. And I did. But I've taken so many showers since then because that was a year ago. I'm not even joking. That was a year ago. It was literally May of 2023 when I was like, I'm gonna launch my booktube channel. I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna do like book content creation. I'm gonna be a booktuber. And I did. To be fair, I filmed a ton of content last summer. I never edited it. I did the very first video. It was a book tag. I edited that and uploaded that. Never went back to it. A couple weeks ago, I uploaded my second video, again, a year later. Uploaded my second video. I think this reading vlog is going to be my third one I upload on my channel a year later. Literally a whole year. Because I started it May 2023. Today is May 31st, 2024. So I will upload it in early June. And it's a year late. That's actually really funny. Same thing. I mean, it's the same time of year because the next video that I filmed after this one is my June TBR. I'll do it. I'll post my 2023 June TBR in 2024 June. Still Pride Month, different year, still Pride Month, still works. But yeah, life happens. But anyways, I remember being really unhappy with the third book in A Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. And I don't remember specifics, but it's fine because this wasn't a spoiler reading vlog. It was very vague, just kind of like my general impressions, not like specific things that were going on in the plot. It's a good thing because I don't remember. All I know is that we took a hard, 180. I felt like a lot of the decisions and things that, Pip was doing were complete opposite for how this character has been built up the entire rest of the series. It felt like a completely different character with the same name. It didn't feel like the character I'd come to love and I enjoyed following and I liked spending time with and reading about her adventures. She seemed like a completely different person. She was doing actions that I disagreed with and also seemed kind of out of character. And you can argue, she went through some shit in that series, especially towards the end of the second book and then in the third one especially. So it's okay, you can make the argument oh, she changed. It's character growth, not in a good way. Not character growth implies in a good way. I will say character change. Shit happens. She's a different person. That's valid. That happens in real life. It can happen to characters. But I just didn't like who she became. I didn't like the choices she was making. And not only if you're making bad choices, but she was making them bad choices in a way that fucked over not only herself, but the people she cared about. She hurt so many people. And we had spent this entire trilogy watching her develop these friendships and these relationships, and it was very la-di-da, I care about the people around me and helping everyone in my life. And then it was kind of her just fucking over all those people. And I didn't enjoy reading that at all, in general. But especially because I was I really liked Pip. I really liked her for the first two books. I feel like she was having such a strong, main character that I really admired, is part of what made those books so good. And so the final book was I don't like our main character anymore. I don't like her actions. I don't like the plot. I don't like literally any of it. And when the few times Pip would annoy me in book 2, it's well, at least the other characters are strong. She fucked over all the other characters and kicked them out of her life. And you're well, what am I here for? Truly, what am I here for? Part of me kind of applauds the author for doing something so bold and taking that risk, Sometimes it's more admirable to take a risk, do something out of the ordinary, take a chance, and for it to not work out, but at least you tried instead of doing the safe thing. Because I don't like when thrillers, especially of all genres, I don't like when thrillers play it safe. But I still didn't like this one. So it's It actually got to the point where I was I had one chapter left in the book, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I was I can't finish this. I just need to walk away, because it was getting worse and worse and worse, and then she really pushed away some very important people, and I was like, I don't want to read this right now. And it was months. It was genuinely like 6 months before I went back and I picked up that book again and I read the final chapter. Final chapter, turns out I was like, oh, I need a breather, I can't finish it right now. That final chapter was like a page and a half. So I spent like 6 months waiting to finish a book that was like, it turns out I had like a page and a half left, and I was like, love that for me. But even then, that final like resolution, like Pip was taking steps to redeem that last relationship that she really, really fucked over. But I still wasn't happy with it because she still fucked it over, which it happens. I have also unintentionally fucked over a lot of people that I cared about and fucked up a lot of relationships. That happens. But she wasn't doing a whole like making it up to them and like making an effort and being like, I'm sorry that I did that to you. I hope you can understand my end. It doesn't make it okay, but I hope you can understand. It was just a like, hey, just like trying to come back into their lives. Like her time, like 3 years later, and I was like it wasn't really bringing the effort, and there was no resolution because it didn't show the other person like taking her like apology, or like actually there wasn't even an apology, or like accepting her back, and we don't even get the redemption of like, but it all worked out in the end. We just got everything that I liked about this book was screwed over. And then in her time, it was a couple of years, and then it was a like, don't worry though, she's gonna reach out to the person again. And you're like, great. And I think it's supposed to be setting up for like, don't worry, like, everything's gonna be fine between them. But even that, I'm kind of like, should it be? It's not fair to the other person. I hope the other person has moved on in their lives. But anyways, I was really, really unimpressed. I did not like that final book in the trilogy. So much so that I had thought incredibly fondly of the entire trilogy. Like, I loved the first book. It really surprised me, and it really pleasantly surprised me. My arms are so tired holding this laptop. Oh my gosh. It really pleasantly surprised me, and I really liked it. And for years, I was like, wow, Good Girl's Guide to Murder? It's so much better than I thought it would be. Like, really good book. Like, it was one of the top 10 best books I read that year, and that was the year that I read like 75 books in 1 year. And for like, ever since I'd read that a couple years ago, I was like, oh, it's so good. The second one, I was like, amazing. The prequel novella, I stand by. Best one in the entire trilogy. But the third one, I'm like, I just liked it so much that it has soured how I think back and view the entire trilogy now. So that was disappointing, and also kind of why I don't read trilogies. That's why I don't read series. I like standalones, because you can read a standalone, and then that is how your thoughts are dictated on the entire series by that one book, because the series is one book. There is no series. It's just the one book. I don't like that trilogies can do that, or series can do that, where you're like, I loved it, and then it got so bad that I retroactively don't like any of them, even the ones that I loved. I'm like, ugh. But anyways, 1 year later, 1 year and like a couple weeks later, but I'm finally finishing it up. So thank you if you stuck all the way through here. I know it was rough. I assure you it gets better, and I'm not just saying that, and I'm like, it'll get better. Like, me in the intro being like, it's gotta get better, right? It has to. It can only go up from here. It literally does. I know that because I have filmed several reading vlogs since then. Have I touched those? No. I'm under the airport. It's loud. Plane going by. But anyways, thank you for sticking with me, not only through this entirely cringy and very long year in the making reading vlog, but with the channel in general. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. I could use it. And stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. And a part of me applauds how I'm blanking on the author. Holly Black Jackson. It's, oh my gosh, this again. You'll see why in like 6 videos from now. I just read a different Holly. I just read a different book by this author, and I was calling her one of the two. Oh, is Holly Black the author of The Cruel Prince? Is that why I kept messing those up? So Holly Jackson. Help, It's been like a month later and I still haven't figured out who the author is. Anyways. Easter egg if you watch all my videos. But anyways,